that text inadvertently. Atlantic Magazine editor-in-chief Jeffrey Gold.
And good morning and welcome to the video live stream for the WSJM Morning Show for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. It's 7 a.m. Eastern. I just remembered somebody broke my stuff yesterday and they haven't fixed it yet. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg, and here with me in the studio is Larry Wozniak. Good morning, Larry.
Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. It's good to see you again, sir.
Great.
And you brought gifts. Thank you for the gifts. You brought, let's see, I've got the pen. I haven't lost it already. So you brought a wonderful pen in here with the American flag on it. I love that. And the Lest We Forget logo and the contact information. And then this pin. I love this pin. I wonder if I can show people on the video live stream.
It's pretty small.
Yeah. So good morning, and how are you today, sir?
Doing great. Doing great.
Good. You reminded me that you're not a morning person, but you made it on time. You were ahead of schedule, so thank you very much. Lest we forget, we'll introduce people again for those who may not know. If they've been living under a rock and they don't know what Lest We Forget is, we'll talk about that for just a moment. But look at this pin. Here, I'll put this on the video live stream. Oh, you can't see that. Nope. Okay. You can't see it very well on the video live stream, but I can vouch that it is beautiful. It's got the United States flag. It has the Lest We Forget logo on it, and the soldier on there as well. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. What's keeping you busy?
Well, I'm in the Lions Club. I'm in Knights of Columbus. We have our Latin dinners going on all this week. The next 3 weeks coming until Easter gets here.
Yeah.
But lest you forget, right? We've been working heavy on this. Last year we were able to do the D-Day reenactment.
That's right.
And it worked out well. We spent 18 months putting that together because It was a big program. But we estimate 7,000 people on the pier watching those battles last year.
7,000.
Based on pictures of the pier that we took, so it was,
how does that compare to years prior?
Normal events, we get between 3,000 and 5,000 people over the weekend, but this one's almost double that. So
yeah, that's great.
So we were excited about that, and everything didn't go quite as planned, but people didn't know that, but it went well.
What didn't go as planned?
Well, we had a parachute man scheduled to drop with the American flag before the battle started. And he decided 10 minutes before that it was too windy. He wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
And we had a C-47 scheduled to fly over, World War II plane.
Yeah.
And they had to back out. So
because the weather was not cooperating.
It was a little hot and a little windy, but actually the wind helped being the heat down there. But
okay, good.
It was good.
Good.
So when that was over, we had to start working on another year.
Yeah. So that one took you 18 months to plan. This year, well, we'll talk about it in a moment. We've got to get back to do some more news, but we'll talk about what your reenactment is going to be this year, if that's all right. How long that's been in the planning, what you've got to do between now and then. And then, as if you weren't busy enough with that, you put a speaker series together. Do you do this often, the speaker series?
Every couple of years, depending on the topic. But there's so much. For years ago, when I had our reenactment weekend, we had a presentation every hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, all weekend long.
Yeah. And
there's so many other activities going on that we never got enough people, to really make it worthwhile. We invite people in to speak, and you get 30 people listening to them,
Yeah.
Because there's so many other activities going on.
Yeah, your attention's everywhere.
We've decided it was better to do it at a separate time. People who are really interested could come in and get some more information prior to the actual event.
That makes great sense. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the content of the speaking series, and that's coming up with Larry Wozniak here from Lest We Forget. That's in just a moment, right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We'll get our local news in just a moment. We'll get weather, we'll get sports, a whole lot more. It's all here on WSJM. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Gary Preston, ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:05, it's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning and welcome to your Tuesday, March 25th. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We've got news coming up in just a moment. We have a special guest in studio right now, Larry Wozniak. He is the board president for the group Lest We Forget. They have the reenactment coming up later this year, but they also have the reenactment in June, but they also have leading up to that a speaker series, and we'll tell you all of what that is about and where you can participate, get involved, and listen. That is coming up in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning, Larry. You doing okay?
Doing great.
Everything good?
Yep.
All right. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, let's get some weather out of the way. 31 degrees in Benton Harbor right now, cloudy skies. 33 and cloudy in St. Joseph. 32 and cloudy in South Haven. I don't see any precipitation anywhere, and there's no really chilling feels like temperature to talk about. The forecast for today does call for these clouds to hang around. Not clowns, the clouds. Partly cloudy skies, a slim chance of rain or snow, high around 44 degrees, and just light winds out of the northwest. Tonight's forecast, partly cloudy, a light north wind, and low around 30. And then tomorrow's forecast, partly cloudy, a 20% chance of rain or snow, high around 46 degrees, and northwest winds 5 to 15 miles per hour. Some of the news that we're following in the WSJM newsroom this morning: the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department is investigating a homicide, a fatal shooting in Hartford that happened yesterday. WSJM's Andrew Green has this report.
The department says deputies were called to the 400 block of Mary Street about 1:15 a.m. on a report of a fight in progress with shots fired. They arrived to find an unresponsive man. Attempts to save the 42-year-old Hartford man's life were made, but he died at the scene. A 41-year-old Hartford woman is now in custody and is the suspect in the shooting. The sheriff's department says there's no threat to the public. It says the suspect's been cooperating and is awaiting arraignment. The case remains open and ongoing, and police say they will release more information once it's available. Andrew Green, WSJM News.
An ask from the law enforcement of our area to keep your eyes on the road at all times when you're driving. There will be a heavy police presence on I-94 this Wednesday all across the state as the Sheriff's Department, Michigan State Police, and local police take a look for distracted drivers. MSP Lieutenant Duane Robinson tells us they're targeting the highway all the way from New Buffalo to Port Huron to remind drivers of the state's hands-free law, which bans using a cell phone while driving.
I think that a lot of people know about it, but I don't think people are really taking it seriously. We're just used to our phones, used to answering that text or that phone call, and those desires supersede the law still amongst a lot of people.
But Robinson says people using cell phones won't be the only distracted drivers that police will be watching for this week.
This is also people that are eating behind the wheel, people putting on makeup, all kinds of things, whatever it may be that's taking your eyes off the road and your hands off the wheel.
Robinson says the Lake to Lake Traffic Initiative is one of the largest combined campaigns among law enforcement in Michigan in a long time. It's taken a great deal of coordination and cooperation for all of these agencies to make sure they're on the road at the same time, pulling over drivers and issuing tickets. It is a primary offense to be distracted while you're driving. The initiative will run on Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 7 p.m., but I am sure they will be out and about more than that. Larry, you don't seem like somebody who would use your smartphone while you're driving.
No, but I have eaten while I'm driving.
Me too. I guess we got to watch for that.
I never thought about that, but or even having a drink. You're allowed to pick up your bottle of water while you're driving.
Whenever I see law enforcement, even if I have like a coffee cup or something like that, I'm very careful not to drink it in front of them because I don't want to give them an excuse, that kind of thing. But anyway, never use your smartphone while you're driving. You're turning your car into a lethal weapon. One more news item to get to. The Southwest Michigan Regional Airport wants to do more to get its name out there, and it's seeking partners to help increase its visibility. Airport Director Shannon Christie tells us they're looking for organizations that would like to partner with the airport for events that could be held at the property and initiatives to improve the community. He says this is something the board has been talking about for a while as it seeks to educate the public on what the airport does.
One of the issues we have is that when we go around, I can go 2 miles in any direction and nobody knows there's an airport here. So we'd like to receive public funding and we'd like to give back for those who give to us.
Christie says the airport has plenty of space where nonprofits and other groups can hold their events. For example, he says, Lest We Forget always uses the airport during its summer war reenactments. He adds the airport has been in talks with the city of Benton Harbor about being used as an emergency warming shelter for those who lose heat during severe winter weather, and it's looking to help spruce up the community through the use of some of its properties.
We have a couple properties in Benton Township that are near residential areas that we've been mowing for the better part of 15 years. And what we'd like to do is get that set up for locals to be able to have like a little garden center.
As part of the effort to better promote itself, he says the airport has been working to clean up sidewalks nearby in a partnership with New Heights CCDA. They'll be holding an event to pick up trash this Wednesday along Euclid Avenue. In April, Christie is hoping to host a celebration of the recently completed taxiway between the north and south runways. Christie invites any community groups looking to host an event at the airport to reach out. He says he wants more people to know that there is an airport there. That's a look at some of the news that we're following in the WSJM newsroom. Lest We Forget uses the airport.
We use it every month for our monthly membership meetings. So yes, it's a great location.
You vouch for it? Good facility?
We have places to store stuff. Keep our equipment there. Our speakers, our screens are there, and all the things we need to put out a good meeting. So.
You recommend it? Is it easy to set up and everything?
Easy. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to have that airport right there. I wish we were able to take flights out of there. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could buy a private plane. Yeah, I get a job with Whirlpool, buy my own airplane, that kind of thing. All right, that's a look at some of the local news that we're covering in the WSJM newsroom this morning. We have Larry Wozniak here. He is the board president for Lest We Forget. And let's start our interview now. We'll get to sports in just a moment, but just give us a brief overview. Larry, Lest We Forget, the organization, for anyone who doesn't know what the organization is, can you give us just a brief overview? What is Lest We Forget?
Formed in 2006 by Don Halsborough, a colonel in the Army. He knew that schools were not teaching enough about military history, and he decided it's time to change that.
Yeah.
So Lest We Forget was formed, and we've had the reenactments ever since, every year. We've published so far seven books of veteran stories, and we have a concert in November on Veterans Day every year at the Mendel Center. All of our events are free to the public. We hope to educate the people about what our military did, and the freedoms we have today are because of our military.
Yeah. All right. We'll be talking about Lest We Forget. We'll talk about the reenactment that's coming up in June. We'll talk about the speaker series that's happening in April and May leading up to that reenactment, and anything else you want to talk about. Right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Larry Wozniak is our special guest this morning. The group is Lest We Forget, and we'll be back in just a moment right here on WSJM. Right now, sports with Dave Wolf. A couple of messages. We'll be back on the video live stream, though, continuing this interview with Larry Wozniak.
March Madness ends for Michigan.
Do that. I have to ask you because it's in the news this morning. I mean, you're an organization that reminds people about military conflict and how it's protected our freedoms. In the news this morning, we hear about the chats going on between top administration officials and thoughts.
The questions are how secure are those chats, right? I mean, I don't know how they picked the wrong person to allow in, and then once they found that out, did they require him to keep his mouth shut, or is he spreading the word?
Yeah. I mean, technology is a wonderful thing, right? It allows us to stay connected in many ways that we didn't even think conceivable a decade ago, and still, yet, with more opportunity, there's more opportunity to screw it up. And when you add a journalist to a high-level military deliberation, I don't know if there were war plans being discussed there, but if they are talking about timing and methods and everything else. Good thing it was only a reporter for the Atlantic.
Right. Yeah.
Who else could you have added by accident? Because honestly, I mean, there have been suspicions for a long time that you have media organizations that are sometimes covers for others. Maybe there's a Russian organization. Maybe there's a Chinese organization. Maybe there's a Middle Eastern news organization that is sponsored by the state. That then all their information goes directly back into the state. So I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to ask your perspective on that. So Larry Wozniak, thank you so much for joining us. For those who don't know you, who have been living under a rock and don't know you. Maybe you introduce yourself just a moment, please.
Well, Larry Wozniak. I went to high school in Lansing. We moved here in '67, right after I graduated. And my dad had a hotel in Stevensville for 35 years. The family worked there for all those years.
Which hotel?
Well, it was the Bella Villa when we bought it, and then it became Park Inn International.
Okay.
And now with the new owners, it's a Super 8.
Okay.
So we sold it back in 2002 after 35 years.
It's still standing. You don't see that with a lot of hotels these days. They like to raise them and just build a new just for, new sake.
Right, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
So I got involved in the community when we moved here after my time in the service, and I got involved. I was in the Lakeshore Chamber of Commerce for almost 30 years, and the Stephenville Festival was started in 1975. We're getting ready for the bicentennial, and here we are working on a semi-quincentennial next year. So
that's great, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You were a captain in the U.S. Army, is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
From 1969 to 1975.
The last 3 years was reserve duty, but yes.
Okay. So, okay. Very good.
Active reserve.
What did you get up to while you were in the military?
Rank-wise?
No, I mean, what were you doing?
Well, I got drafted originally, and then I went OCS, so I was Officer Candidate School. So I graduated as a second lieutenant in the infantry, and then they needed some Signal Corps people, communications.
Yeah.
So I signed up, and I was chosen out of our group, a class of 168, to go to signal school for 6 more months.
Wow.
And I ended up going to Vietnam as a battalion communications officer. So every hill or whole mountain, we had people on board keeping the radios going, and my job was to make sure they were all there and parts were working and take people in and out as needed. So
yeah. Well, thank you for that. And ironic that the app that they're talking about with the military is called Signal.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
All right, we've got this conversation going on. We've got a speaker series to cover. This is in anticipation of the event. The dates for the annual reenactment weekend are June 21st and 22nd this year, and the staging area is down there at the old water tower site. So you still have that to
that's right, this year. Yep.
This year, and but for most of the people who want to see this, the reenactment, which is called the Sandbox Wars.
The Sandbox Wars.
The Sandbox Wars.
It's not used everywhere, but enough people are using the Sandbox Wars to cover all the Iraq, Afghanistan, Desert Storm eras. So
because there's just a lot of sand there.
There's a lot of sand.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that here in just a moment, and what's leading up to that, and some of the people that you can expect to hear from, and all of these speeches. They'll be at the Lake Michigan College.
At Lake Michigan College in the classroom, right?
Fantastic.
D112 is the room number, and we have signs in the sidewalks to get you to the right place. But
okay, the first one is on April 15th, so we'll talk about what that is in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. I'm pleased to have Larry Wozniak here. He is the board president for Lest We Forget. We'll continue that conversation in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Quality of life. The Center for Growth and Independence. thecentergi.org.
Partly sunny skies today, but definitely cool temperatures. Afternoon highs around 44 degrees, and with the wind still out of the north and northwest, it will be breezy and cool. Partly cloudy tonight. We drop down to 30 for the overnight low, and for tomorrow, a mix of the sun and clouds again. High temperatures at 46. We should see 50s, but a chance of rain return on Thursday. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
7:18 WSJM Morning Show continues on your Tuesday, March 25th. As Carrie Peugeot mentioned just a moment ago, it's a little bit chilly out there, but the roads are just fine. No precipitation yet this morning, Larry?
Nope, nothing at all.
Zero. Dry out there. Just dry and cold and not too windy at all. Good morning. We're talking with Larry Wozniak. He is the board president for Lest We Forget, and we had a brief introduction of what Lest We Forget is. They have a reenactment coming up this year on June 21st and 22nd. Let's talk a little bit about that. Previous themes, as you've mentioned here, included World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the U.S. Navy, women in service, the Cold War, and last year was the 80th anniversary of D-Day and the Saipan battles.
Right.
You've been busy.
It's fun, though. It's fun. And,
yeah.
It's important that people remember all these activities. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talk about the activity that is the reenactment that's happening this year in June.
Well, in June, we were looking for some reenactors, but there aren't any. The guys who are involved in these wars aren't doing anything, and the other people are more interested in World War II and those kind of things, Korea. Even though there's a little bit of Vietnam reenaction out there, but nothing for this. So we had to find another way to teach the people about the era.
Okay.
We did find a traveling gold star wall.
Okay.
So there were over 7,200 soldiers that died during these battles. And there's a traveling version of the Gold Star Wall. It's about 75 feet long and 8 feet high, and it's an outdoor display. And it'll have all 7,200 gold stars with 7,200 names, and ways to access where someone's name is on what panel of the wall. It's just like kind of like the Vietnam Wall works as well.
Yeah.
So it's a display, and it's $10,000 to bring it in, but people need to remember, that people died during these conflicts.
Absolutely.
Nowhere near the 58,000 from Vietnam, but it's important. So that's we're bringing that in. There's also another version of the Gold Star Wall that's Detroit. It's Michigan stars only. There's about 230 soldiers from Michigan who died during those activities. So both of those will be on display. So that's the big draw this year. We'll still have World War II boat rides. We're talking with the Michigan National Guard, hoping that they'll come in and do some demonstrations. They're still deciding if they can make it or not. We'll have helicopter rides. We'll have our World War II, our kids' planes made out of plastic drums on a handcart pulled by a tractor. So we have the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard planes. Yeah. And I'm still hoping somebody will get an idea how to make me a spaceship rocket plane for Space Force. But we haven't got that yet.
That'd be tremendous. So this is to commemorate or to bring awareness to the United States involvement in the Persian Gulf, in Afghanistan, in the Iraq conflicts, sometimes referred to as the Sandbox Wars. So they won't be in a reenactment per se. Is that what you're saying?
And that's the National Guard can decide to do something for us.
Okay.
Like I say, they're working on what their availability might be.
But everything
they
else,
definitely use the same kind of equipment and the stuff that was used 40 years ago. So they're still using that now. So they would have a good display for us and possibly be able to do some maneuvers.
Okay. And so leading up to this event, tell us what you've got a special speaker series that starts in April 15th, just a couple of weeks away. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is it?
Well, we've got different eras that were covered, and we got a lot of people in our area who served during those times, and we wanted to give them a chance to tell their story. So, we're starting with Desert Storm and Lee Sherwitz, who was the airport manager for 15 years, and in the Air Force for 26 years. His involved with Desert Storm as well. He was also in Vietnam and other places, but Desert Storm as well. And so he's going to talk about how things were moved around, because one of the main things was protecting Saudi Arabia from the oil fields. Yeah. Because if Iraq got a hold of those oil fields, they would control 1/5 of the whole world's oil. So that was important to keep the oil safe. Yeah. And that's what the Desert Storm was all about.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's the first one coming up on April 15th. Right. And these are going to be, it looks like all of them are starting at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, yeah. 6 Tuesdays in a row, 7 o'clock in the evening at the Lake Michigan College, not the Mendel Center, at the actual college itself.
Okay.
And Steve Allsborough, which is Don Allsborough, started, let's forget, Steve is his son. He was a captain in the Army as well, and he served during Desert Storm. So he's also got stories to tell about moving people and getting. They used bean bullets, which I had never heard of.
Bean bullets.
It was bean bags, but they used like a shotgun.
Oh, okay.
So it was less harmful to people, but it would stop them. So they did things like that, and they had to move 50,000 troops for over 500 miles in 14 days. So that's all. He was in charge of all that logistics.
Wow.
So there's a lot more to him and his story to tell as well. So
so he'll be sharing that information.
He's on the second one. Yep.
Okay, and that's happening on April 22nd, April 29th.
29th. Staff Sergeant McGowan and First Sergeant Jones are both from Dowagiac. McGowan is the post commander of the VFW there, and so these are a little younger guys, which is great. Because I'm in my 70s, so these guys are in their 50s.
Yeah.
And they've got some great stories to tell about the Iraqi freedom. there were 32,000 soldiers that were wounded during that period of time, and 4,400 of them were killed. So it was heavily involved with soldiers and Marines and sailors. So it was an important time. So we're hoping to get more of their story.
Yeah. So Desert Storm, April 15th and April 22nd, Iraqi Freedom on April 29th, and then we move over to Afghanistan in May.
Afghanistan was over 20 years, so we got 3 weekends, 3 weeks talking about Afghanistan. And Colonel Sawyer is also one of our board members, unless we forget. He's up first, and he was, as you know, besides like in Iraqi Freedom, those guys were guys on the ground. Colonel Sawyer was one of the command people, and he was up talking about how things were planned and how things happened. Yeah. So he had a lot of work to do that way. So he's going to talk about Afghanistan and how it's laid out, and the expected challenges, unexpected challenges, the extreme weather they had to deal with, and the things like that to keep things going on and to keep the logistics going. So that's important, because without the upper command, the lower command doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix special called Surviving Black Hawk Down.
I have not seen that.
It's the Black Hawk Down movie came out in 2001. And there are several people who were involved in that. They're interviewed, as well as Somalians who were talking about their side of the story, how they hated the Americans, things like that. So it's a 3-hour special on Netflix. I was watching that with a retired colonel, and his comment was, nowhere during that 3 hours did they talk about upper command. They just showed the people on the ground what they were doing and turning here and going there, avoiding the enemy here. But they didn't talk about who was directing those people on the ground. And as a colonel, that's what he was interested in. Yeah. So it's not just the ground; it's how the plans are displayed and passed on to
how that all fits together.
People, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So the last one in our weekend, by May 20th. We have a senior petty officer, and he's going to talk about his time in Afghanistan. But Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Deal is also a Let's Forget member. She was in the Marines. She was the very first Marine combat pilot, and she flew a helicopter.
Okay.
And she was for a long time, Marines didn't allow females. The Army was ahead of them allowing female pilots, but when the Marines did, she was the first. And she spent her time, a couple of trips to Afghanistan. One was moving people around, and one of the helicopters she flew could handle 55 troops. I got the notes here somewhere. 55 troops, and where is that here?
That's all right.
Anyway, she has got quite a story to tell. Her story.
Oh yeah, here it is. She 55 Marines or 16 tons of cargo.
16 tons of cargo.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a Super Sea Stallion helicopter. So,
okay.
And she's got some great stories to tell. We just published book 7 of Let's Forget Veteran Stories last November, and Sarah's story is in that book as well.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a great time. And all these 6 weekends, these 6 Tuesdays, I should say, are preceded by April 8th, the Tuesday before that, when the Army Band and Soldiers Chorus will be performing at the Mendel Center.
Oh.
So that's 7 weeks in a row to come out to the college area. And that's also a free concert, 7:30 on April 8th.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the calendar here. You're talking about 2 weeks from today. Is that right? No. Let me make sure we're looking at the right. Yeah, 2 weeks from today is the concert?
It's the concert, right.
Okay, and what's the lowdown on that again?
Well, it's the Army Band and the Soldiers Chorus.
Okay.
And they'll do a 2-hour free concert. There are tickets available to get you in first for pick out your best seats, and then at quarter until the concert starts, 7:15, they will open the door to anybody who didn't actually go and get a ticket online. But tickets are free. It's just a matter of getting in there and catching this show. So we're excited to have the Army Band coming to our area.
That's outstanding, and that's coming up on Tuesday, April 8th. And again, I love that all of this is free to the public,
exactly.
to the general public. It's a great community service that you're doing. Let's talk more about Lest We Forget, and we'll talk about the books. You've got 7 books out there right now, and then you've got the organization itself that keeps going. So we'll talk about that in a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We'll continue this interview on the video live stream. We've got a couple of news things to get to, including our financial news from the Bloomberg Market Minute to ABC World and National News to what's happening in our WSJM newsroom. All that is coming up next right here on WSJM.
Have you been thinking about building your
And back on the video live stream. How we doing? We doing all right?
Doing perfect.
Okay, good. That's a lot. You've taken out a lot. Usually we see you for the reenactment, but this year I love that you have the talks going up and into it as well. You think about. I was thinking about the Gulf War, and was it 1991?
Right.
Is that right? And George W. Bush was in charge of the presidency at that time, and you think about the visuals that you saw from the network television at the time, the oil wells being set on fire, or folks going in, and then I still think about Gulf War syndrome and what the veterans have come back with there. What are some of the most compelling stories that you've heard as you think about putting together the programs for the Sandbox Wars?
Well, PTSD is still talked about, and for a long time it wasn't talked about. World War II, you didn't hear about that, but the people had the same sufferings. There was a thing on 60 Minutes this past Sunday about a guy who served for his 20 years in the army, and actually became a trainer he was a Navy SEAL, and sorry, I said Army and Navy. He was a Navy SEAL, and he became a trainer and returned home teaching other people how to do these combat things. And he had a brain injury that was not detected, and they said it's from sound going through his eyeballs into his brain. So they've determined now what the cause of this was. So now it's a whole new deal of how they're going to go after and try and protect. They're trying to create weapons that have less force when they're fired at them, things like that. So. There's a lot to do, and we're making progress, but we're still losing way too many people every day.
Yeah.
So with this Gold Star wall that we're going to have on display at the weekend, it's going to be emotional, to people to see that. So we're going to have people on hand, and we actually invited a person. She was here 3 years ago when we did our Women in the Service conflict. Shoshana Johnson was a POW in Iraq. And we invited her to come back because she's got more stories to tell when she was here last time. And she's also bringing two of her cousins who were both served in there. So she'll be talking about her capture, how it affected the family, and also, how some of the things that happened when she returned. So she'll be on hand as well to counsel people and who are at the walls observing what's going on. So.
The wall with the Gold Star walls that you have coming to set up, because there's the Gold Star wall overall, and then there's the Michigan
version of that.
Version of that as well. Is the atmosphere for those similar to what you would see at the Vietnam War Memorial?
I mean, it's supposed to be a quiet area.
Yes,
it's hard to do when you got helicopters flying around and boats going off of the river giving rides. But we're gonna have it as calm as we can in that area. And have people a chance to sit and just contemplate. Yeah. So.
Where is that area going to be?
It's all in the corner of Upton Drive and Whitwam Drive, where the Water Tower used to be. The closest address is 275 Upton Drive in St. Joe, and the field's also been used for PGA parking over the years. So it's a big area, and the river's right there, so it's easy to give boat rides. And we're going to have a lot of activities going on besides the displays. 20th Century Museum is also returning from the Holland area. They've got mostly World War II stuff, but it's a hands-on museum, so people get to pick up different things, put on a flap jacket, pick up a machine gun, and feel how much weight it was to him.
It's a lot
carrying those things. So and climb into a vehicle. So those kind of things are a great attraction. We're also bringing back the climbing wall. That's something we had for the Cold War because we had them climbing the Berlin Wall to escape. But it draws children, and children bring their families and their parents. So it was a good attraction. So we're having the climbing walls again this year.
One moment. Let's get back on the air here.
And Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
7:34. We're having a great conversation on the video live stream. Hi, good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm visiting with Larry Wozniak from Lest We Forget. He's the board president there, and we're talking about some of the activities you can expect June 21st and 22nd.
Right.
That's when the Sandbox Wars information and the reenactment there will be, and the big part of this will be the Gold Star display, the Gold Star walls that will be here, and that will be down at the site of the old water tower. What's the address again? 275?
275 Upton Drive.
275 Upton Drive. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Right now, we're going to get the latest news from ABC, a tease of what we're talking about in the WSJM newsroom, and more about this interview with Lest We Forget here in just a moment on WSJM.
ABC News, I'm Sherry. Preston, big questions about the group text in which national security was discussed, including a strike in Yemen, which happened. ABC Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz reports.
Fallout from that stunning lapse in national security. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, along with other top members of President Trump's national security team, sharing details about a planned large-scale attack on Yemen earlier this month on the commercial message app Signal, and inadvertently including journalist Jeffrey Goldberg on that chain.
National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director Ratcliffe will both be in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee today. The Trump administration invoking state secrets privilege and refusing to give a federal judge any more information about those flights carrying Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador. An FBI task force has been set up to investigate attacks on Tesla dealerships. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
And the WSJM Morning Show continues. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ken Lundberg. It's Tuesday, March 25th, 7:36 in the morning. Some of the news that we're covering at 8 o'clock this morning from the WSJM Newsroom. A Livonia, Michigan man is dead following a crash involving two semi-trucks on I-94 near New Buffalo yesterday. The Berrien County Sheriff's Department says it happened on the westbound side of the highway at around 4:30 in the afternoon. Arriving deputies found an eastbound semi-truck and trailer crash through the median barriers, crossed into the westbound lanes, and collided with another semi-truck. We'll tell you more about that incident. That's still under investigation coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. It's been a month since the MHSAA referee was pelted by thrown objects and knocked to the ground after a Buchanan-Benton Harbor basketball game. Still no decision yet from the Cass County Prosecutor's Office, but they say they're still contemplating charges after the alleged assault. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then also, United Way of Southwest Michigan is preparing for a big celebration next month. It's called the United Way's Our Impact, Our People event. So we'll have more on that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We've got weather forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. We have sports. We have the latest state news now from the Michigan News Network. It's all coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
The Michigan News.
All right, back to the video live stream, and we're talking with Larry Wozniak. He's the board president for Lest We Forget. How is Lest We Forget as an organization doing?
We're doing great. We've got about 480 members. All of them don't come to our meetings every month, but they're available through email. We also have all of our meetings on Zoom as well, those who can't attend in person. So we're doing well. We were well supported last year for our D-Day event. We've spent over $85,000, and all that money came from local donations and grants. So
$85,000
for that one weekend. Yes.
That's great.
But and we still have enough money for this year, and more money's been coming in. So we're working okay. And we're planning ahead because next year we want to do something with the semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And in 2027, we're looking at Native Americans in the military. So we're working farther ahead.
Okay. And I mean, part of that looking ahead piece is understanding where you're going to be staging, where you're going to be holding the reenactments. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you're facing?
Well, the Harbor Shores is planning on building condos at our current site. So if that happens, then we won't be able to use that spot anymore. If we want to keep having boat rides, World War II boat rides in the river, we need a place near the river. So Riverview Park does have space available. We haven't talked to the city about using that or not, but it was a possibility. And we always have access to the airport for reenactments. Just there's no river out there, so we have to eliminate the boats, But everything else can happen at the airport if we needed to. So, and there's other places I'm sure that we can find around the county. So we'll have to keep looking at that. But
yeah, I mean, it's a mammoth planning operation that you have. I mean, like you said, it was 18 months to do the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
There's a lot to pull together. A lot of little things that maybe not seem important at the time, but boy, when it comes down to it, you need them. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got a great board that works on all these things, and it meets monthly as well. So that's how all this happens.
What do you do at those monthly meetings?
We have presentations. We always do something from the community. For instance, this coming April 2nd meeting, Fifth Third Bank's going to talk about mortgages that veterans have access to. So that comes up. And then we have once in a while, not every time, we have a person who works with State Farm Insurance, and he's able to give what's going on with that, and we have someone who talks about investments and how the best work with our monies. So we have other information as well, and then Maureen Adams or Eric Larson from the VA in St. Joe always have updates of what's going on with the veterans that way too. So we have a lot of things going on. We have a few jokes we tell, and we have coffee and donuts, of course. So.
All right, jokes. Lay one on me.
Well, okay. A man and a woman book a trip on a train.
Okay.
And they both book sleeping berths.
Okay.
There's a mix-up. They both got assigned the same berth. It was late. They were tired, so that would just deal with it. So the man's at the top bunk, and the woman's down below. A minute later, he says, it's kind of cold up here. Could you reach in that drawer and hand me a blanket? She says, I got an idea. Let's pretend we're married. He says, okay. She says, get your own blanket.
I like it. Thank you. Didn't know where that was going. But that's what's fun about that. You made it clean for radio. Thank you very much. And lest we forget, so a lot of it sounds like it's a very I don't want to say informal, but it's an ad hoc veterans support group.
Exactly. We're not officially a support group.
Yeah.
But because everybody gathers together, we are. They support each other. And especially that first half hour of social time with coffee and donuts, people can share and talk about what's going on in their lives. And every once in a while, we get somebody who actually comes up to the podium and tells their story. It's hard to get people to do that.
Yeah.
Just like it was to get enough stories for Book 7. It took us a couple of years to get 85 people to say, okay, I'll have my story in Book 7.
Wow.
If you got too few, it's just a pamphlet, not a book,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll talk about the books in just a moment. But a shout out to Maureen Adams with the Berrien County Veterans Services Office. They are basically the connection, the liaison between veterans and VA services. I mean, they're not actually working for the VA. They're working with the VA, and they're working for veterans, which is great. I mean, because they were established. My understanding, if I remember correctly, is they were established by an order from President Lincoln.
That's correct.
That every county shall have a veterans support office.
And this Saturday at the Bluff, they're doing a Vietnam Veterans Memorial Service and celebration. It's actually the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. And March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Day. So at the Bluff at 10 o'clock Saturday morning, there'll be an activity going on. So,
what from that era, what should people be thinking about at this point when they think about the Vietnam War?
Different than it was 50 years ago. When I came home, I didn't want anybody to know where I'd been. It just, you weren't treated well, and you just kind of ignored that part of it. But it's totally changed. The communities now respect the veterans, and a lot of people will say, thank you for your service or something like to that effect. And I finally, the veterans are starting to realize that they were appreciated. Somebody rode the Blossom Time. We're in the Blossom Time Parade every year. Somebody rode in the parade last year on our float for the first time. And they were so impressed how people stood up and applauded as the float went by. And they had never experienced that before. So it was a whole new life for them.
Yeah, what a strange world. What a strange world. So, again, thank you for your service. No, we appreciate that. 7:43, WSJM Morning Show continues. We're talking with Larry Wozniak. He's the board president for Lest We Forget. And it's an important organization, and I mean, it's all in the name, Lest We Forget. Are you feeling like you're having an impact?
I think so. I mean, 7,000 people last year means something, and I'm hoping they don't forget about us this year. Besides all the activities going on, the Broder Lions Club has offered to do a pancake breakfast both Saturday and Sunday mornings at our site. And we always do a USO-type entertainment in the evening. So on this Saturday, the 21st of June, we're having 3 men and a tenor. They're a nationally group. They all met when they went to Michigan State University. 3 men, and the tenor doesn't get quite that enough notification, but he was 3 men and a tenor. They're an a cappella group. They performed at the Mendel Center before. and they're coming in to do our Saturday Night USO show for 2 hours. So again, that's a free concert, outdoors, 7 o'clock on Saturday night.
That's fantastic. Boy, all right. Mark your calendars, June 21st and 22nd. That's when all the activity is going to be happening. And there's going to be a lot there. I mean, not only will there be information about the Sandbox Wars and the Gold Star Walls as well, but like, as you mentioned, World War II rides.
Right.
You said the helicopter rides are going to be happening
Helicopter
again?
rides as well, yeah.
Okay, very good. We'll be back in a moment. We'll talk about the books from Lest We Forget in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Partly sunny skies today, but definitely cool temperatures. Afternoon highs around 44 degrees. And with the wind still out of the north and northwest, it will be breezy and cool. Partly cloudy tonight. We drop down to 30 for the overnight low. And for tomorrow, a mix of the sun and clouds again. High temperatures at 46. We should see 50s, but a chance of rain return on Thursday. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
And the pancakes. I'll ask you about the pancakes again because those sound good. Well, let's talk about the pancakes right now. Good morning and welcome back to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. And with me this morning is Larry Wozniak. He's the board president for the group Lest We Forget. And again, just a reminder, Lest We Forget exists why?
To educate the public about our military services and how they protect our freedoms.
And you have a lot of events coming up, including the speaker series that's going to be at Lake Michigan College that runs April 15th through May 20th, every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. There will be a different speaker talking about some nights it'll be Desert Storm, some nights it'll be Iraqi freedom, some nights it'll be about the military conflict in Afghanistan. And this is all to bring real life stories back from those conflicts to help people understand what was going on during that period.
This information is all available on our website as well as our Facebook page. LestWeForgetUSA.org.
LestWeForgetUSA.org is your website, and that's where you can get all that information. Good plug.
Right.
Good plug. What about the pancakes? Tell us about the pancakes.
Well, the Broad Alliance a few years ago when we were at the river also did pancakes, and it was a great hit. So they contacted me and said, "Can we do it again?" And I said, "Definitely." They'll be early morning, probably 6 o'clock starting, going on through at least 10. And then we have Twisted Dog, who has a stand on the bluff in St. Joe all summer long, but they will be there for the rest of the day on Saturday and Sunday to take care of lunches and dinners.
Nice.
And then we have our free root beer floats as well for donation only. We have root beer floats. Pepsi donates the root beer, and we get the ice cream, and we have root beer floats available all weekend.
I love that. Love that. That sounds great. And that is the weekend of June 21st, 22nd.
21, 22.
Okay. So free root beer floats, sign me up. I like that. But donations are welcome.
Sure.
And encouraged. Okay. Let's make this part of our Moody on the Market update. Your Moody on the Market update is brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. We're talking with Larry Wozniak, the board president for Lest We Forget. Lest We Forget also, as part of your awareness campaign, your ongoing awareness campaign, you've got books. Not one book, not 2 books, not 6 books. 7 books you've now
7 books,
published.
And we're already collecting some stories for book 8, which when we get enough, we'll publish that. It'll probably be a couple of years, but we're doing it.
Tell us about the books.
Well, the books are put together. The first one was all World War II veterans, and after that it expanded. That was in 2008. After that, we went through all the different conflicts as well. So we have some from Korea, from Vietnam, from the Civil War, even World War I, and some of the stories. And most of the stories are local veterans from our area. Book 3 has a couple of different things in there. Bob Heft, when he was a senior in high school, designed our American flag, and he attended our event several times over the years. He's passed now, but his story's in Book 3. And also Frank Buckles' story's in Book 3. He was the last surviving World War I veteran. Wow. He died in 2011 at age 110.
Wow.
And our group visited him in Virginia several times, and his story is in Book 3 as well. But mostly they're local veterans. And Book 7 was special because we have 45 or 50 high school students that interviewed veterans and wrote the story. So that's the first time we got the kids involved. And 40 years ago, 40% of our nation was veterans involved, whether it's National Guard or reserves or active Army or active military.
Yeah.
Today, it's 6%.
6.
So there's a lot of people who just don't even know what's happened those years. So it's important that we make sure that people learn about all of the things the United States is involved in.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad, some not so good, not so successful, but always with the right purpose in mind.
Is the idea so that those who remember history don't repeat the mistakes?
That's part of it.
Is that part of it?
You keep saying that, and yet how many
keeps
times
happening.
does it repeat? Just,
yeah. So you've got plans for book 8 happening right now.
Anybody who has a story they're willing to tell, if you don't want to write it, we'll have somebody interview and write it for you. So
is there a guardrail on what conflict you're looking at?
No, we're open to anything. We want to hear people. People need to share their story.
Yeah.
I went to a funeral. He was in the English Army, and he was part of MI6. I went to his funeral a couple weeks ago. He lived in the United States for the last 30 years. His nephew, who was at the funeral, never knew he served, let alone all the things he did. So
you're kidding.
People need to share their stories.
Yeah.
When a person dies without telling their story, it's like a library burning. That story's gone forever.
Yeah, agree. And so, how can people get access to these books?
Our website, our phone is available. That's letsforgetusa.org. You can order them online. We can mail them to you. We can drop them off, or you can pick them up at any of our activities, including our monthly meetings. And monthly meetings are open to not just veterans, to patriots as well. Probably 15% of our members have not served, but they are important. They are active and willing to talk about the services our soldiers did.
When is your next meeting? April 2nd?
April 2nd, yes.
Yep. Okay.
At the Benton Harbor Airport, 9:30 coffee and donuts. The meeting starts at 10. Usually lasts between an hour and a half.
I'm wondering about the next book. I mean, you've got book 8. You're already soliciting stories for that. But as the nature of warfare evolves, have you seen an evolution in the stories that you're receiving? How do those change?
What's happening is we are better at protecting our own. We still have deaths, but like I said, 58,000 in Vietnam, and 7,000 in the last 20 years. So it's changed. We're still losing people, but we're better at protecting our own, and we have people who are long time ago it was draftees. So they didn't want to be there, but they did a job.
Yeah.
And now it's all of Army that people are military that people decided to join and give their time. So they have different attitudes, and that shows in their stories.
Okay. All right. We're talking with Larry Wozniak from Lest We Forget. Be back to conclude this interview in just a moment. Thanks for listening to the WSJM Morning Show.
Insurance Management Service is your local auto owner's insurance.
Yeah, I wonder if one of your next books, it could just be a computer manual. Because you think about all the military operations that are happening in cyberspace these days. Certainly people pushing buttons and launching missiles and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then you also have the cyber warfare that's happening.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. What else are you hearing out there, Larry?
What else am I hearing? I don't know. Like I said, we are already working on the next 2 years with our themes.
Do you need donations?
We always need donations. I mean, that's what keeps us going.
Yeah, what kind of donations?
We get from $10 to $50, $100. We've had several who do $1,000. Last year the grants were between $10,000 and $15,000. We had 4 of those, so that helped a lot. It was half of our money came from grants last year.
Where did the grants come in through?
The Upton Foundation.
Okay.
The Benton Harbor St. Joe.
So primarily
Rotary
local.
Club.
Okay.
The community. What's it?
Bering Community Foundation.
Gave us $10,000 last year as well. So.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, because I was thinking a cook plant.
Yeah,
okay.
Hard to cook.
Very good.
So.
Yeah, if you're looking for federal money, that might be difficult coming up.
Yeah, and we it's a whole different deal with even our 501c3. We can't accept federal money.
Yeah,
we don't. It's all local stuff. So
that makes sense. Okay, all right. We're talking with Larry Wozniak. We'll wrap up this conversation in just a moment. I love that you've got the books out there. How do you have? Is there one that sells more than all the others?
The newest one always sells more, but book 3, because of the additional stories of Bob Heft and Frank Buckles, also is pretty popular.
Okay. And you can see all those selections at lestweforgetusa.org. That's Lest We Forget's website. And you said 480 people currently members?
Right.
That's great. That's good. So if you want to become a member, you don't need to be a veteran.
That's correct.
You don't need to be in the military, but you just need to be a supporter, and they'll...
Membership is $10 a year or $50 a lifetime, so we're not out of anybody's pocket.
Yeah, I like that. All right, 7:54. We'll be back in a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Store today.
I can see your future. Sometime in the next month, you'll go out to eat again.
Jenny here. The Big Deals online store can make your future even brighter with restaurant gift certificates. There's something for everyone. They spend just like cash and never expire, so you can buy them now and use them whenever you want. Shop anytime, save all the time. The Big Deals online store.
Visit BigDealsSouthwestMichigan.com. Hey there, Mason Jar Cafe family. Mason Jar is sprucing up to serve you better. Yeah, that means a few paint splatters and the occasional hammer sound, but don't worry, they're open. With a limited menu during renovations, it's the perfect time to quench your favorite locally sourced cravings. Come on in, just watch out for the wet paint signs. We promise it's not a new abstract art installation. For the latest updates, visit MasonJarMenu.com. Thanks for your patience and sense of humor. They can't wait to unveil their fresh new look for you at the Mason Jar Cafe.
Winter brings out the worst in your car. Dead battery, heater problem, coolant leak, or your engine just won't start. Need help with your car problem? Depend on Enders. Enders Auto Repair. With over 35 years of local service, Terry Enders and his team will diagnose your problem, repair it right, and get you back on the road fast. Their experience will make your experience a good one. Got car problems? Depend on Enders. Enders Auto Repair. Red Arrow Highway just south of Stevensville.
From the Pat Moody Studios, this is WSJM-FM Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, a product of Midwest Family Marketing and Media. Proudly serving our community. The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:56, just 4 minutes in front of 8 o'clock. We'll have news from ABC, world and national news, and then we'll have our local news from the WSJM newsroom. That's coming up, plus local sports and our forecast and all the other stuff. But right now, we are concluding our interview with Larry Wozniak. He's the board president for the organization Lest We Forget. And if you want more information about anything that we've talked about this morning about Lest We Forget, just go to their website. It's lestweforgetusa.org. And they have their reenactment, the weekend, the activities. That's coming up June 21st and 22nd. June 21st and 22nd. And they'll be highlighting the Gulf War, the Afghanistan and the Iraq conflicts, sometimes called the Sandbox Wars. They'll have a Gold Star Memorial Wall position there, and they'll have the Michigan version of that as well. But leading up to that, they will have a weekly series, a speaker series, and it starts April 15th. And it goes all the way through May 20th. Every Tuesday, they'll have a different veteran from one of those conflicts I mentioned, Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, or Afghanistan, coming to talk to people about their experience in those conflicts. And again, those are Tuesdays starting April 15th. They'll be held at Lake Michigan College, the Benton Harbor campus in room D112, and they're absolutely free. Everything is absolutely free. Everything is absolutely free. Thank you for doing what you do, Larry. We really appreciate you and your organization.
I just thought of one thing I should bring up.
Yes.
I just recently received a 23-page story from a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
It's written in Russian. I'd like to find someone who can help me translate. I've contacted Andrews University. They have nobody there. I've been on Facebook asking for people to help. So far, I've got no response. If anybody knows how to translate from Russian to English, I'd like to get this story and get it printed in our next book.
I bet there's somebody we can find out there. So if you know how to translate written Russian into English, contact Larry, right? Is that the best thing to do?
Yep.
Contact Larry Wozniak. You can go to the website, lestweforgetusa.org, and his email is there, or his phone number, and just reach out. So again, if you know Russian, and you can, you've got some time to help translate that story so that they can publish it, let them know. And if you forget the contact information, just call me. I'll do the same thing.
Thank you.
All right. No, das Vidanya. That'd be, no. All right. So one thing I just wanted to ask you really quick, and then we've got to get to ABC News. I asked you briefly, what do you do in your off time when you're not doing the reenactments, unless we forget? And you mentioned a family reunion is coming up.
We do a family reunion every year. It's we always have themes. We've done Hollywood. My mom, when she was alive, came as Carol Burnett with the curtain rod dress. My dad came as Liberace. We do things, but this year the theme is medieval.
Medieval.
So we're going to have catapults. We're going to have jousting. We're going to have turkey legs.
Do you do anything small? Everything is big.
And it averages every year we have the reunion here in Stephenville, and it averages between 40 to 120 people, depending who can make it that year. But we don't want to skip a year because somebody couldn't make it this year. They got to wait 2 years. So every year we have it.
And there's going to be an executioner there as well?
There will be, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A medieval theme family reunion. Because the family, you probably get bored talking to them. So you might as well have a theme.
That's right.
Love
That's
it.
Right.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for putting together and organizing Lest We Forget. We appreciate it. If you want more information, lestweforgetusa.org. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Ken.
We appreciate it. Absolutely. It's 8 o'clock. We've got the latest news now from ABC. We'll have our local news next, our local sports as well from Dave Wolf. It's all coming up right here on WSJM.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Questions?